Okay, well, let's just go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. I'm Abby Neidham, the founder and CEO of SAM. I'd just like to take a minute at the very top to thank you all for being here and to let you know that I have the greatest job in the world. Why, you might be wondering? Because I get to talk to women all day long. And I don't just get to talk to women all day long, I get to co-create solutions with women all day long about how we can change our circumstances, how we can change what we're going through, how we can be more prepared and more clear with what life throws at us. And I want to just take a minute to acknowledge that the world feels quite heavy right now for all of us. I'm assuming you are reading the same news that we are every day. And so this 45 minutes is for you to take a little bit of a breather from all of that and to learn about how you can solution when times and things feel uncertain in life. Pull Me Out of This is a series from Sam, and the goal of Pull Me Out of This is to promote and highlight, to showcase, to have conversations about solutions and moments when life feels overwhelming, when we might feel stuck or unsure about how to move forward. So, a little bit about Sam. Sam is a brand new startup. We launched 6 weeks ago. And we are joined here today by two of our fabulous experts. SAM is a support system for women. We don't have a lot of support as women in America, so we decided to build a system for us. Too many women are navigating the hardest chapters of life without real support. 72% of American women say that they do not have adequate support in their lives, and so we decided to build it. We saw the gap, and instead of waiting for something better, we created it. We've brought together more than 75 trusted experts across caregiving, wellness, career, legal, financial, and much more, so that women can get guidance that actually fits the moment that we're in. So, whether you're here today, if you're facing job loss or burnout or illness or family upheaval, Sam is here to support you and lets you build your own personal village of care. You can book expert sessions, you can have real connection with other women, and you can access curated tools that meet you where you are. Okay, so if you're new here to Pull Me Out of This, just a quick reminder to navigate to the view of your top right hand of the Zoom. Select side-by-side speaker and adjust the size of the speaker and the slide windows for the maximum viewing experience. We always start our Pull Me Out of This series with a mindful moment, and I will turn it over to Maura Salisbury, our head of wellness, to lead us here. Maura.
Thanks, Abby. All right, let's gather ourselves and transition into this moment together. And I invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you, or you can leave them open. I'm just taking a moment to feel how you're sitting right now. Feel the surface that you're sitting on. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel connected to the earth. And maybe even feel grounded in this moment. Feeling gravity connecting you to the ground beneath you. And just taking a minute to tune into your breath. Just feeling what it's like to breathe right now. feeling the breath moving through you. And now just seeing if you can notice what you're feeling in this moment. Just tuning into your emotional world and just picking one or two words to describe how you're feeling right now. And together we can take in a big breath and slowly release it. And as you're ready, opening your eyes if they were closed and transitioning into our time together today. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Maura. Okay, let us get started here. It is my pleasure to introduce our two incredible guides for today. Kara Bradley is an author and national board certified health and wellness coach with 4 decades of experience in mind-body teaching, performance coaching, and well-being practices. She's a leading voice on flow states, meditation, and resilience. Welcome, Kara. And Corinne Canty is a startup advisor, executive coach, and former chief executive officer. She's helped build high-performing, values-driven cultures and has coached TEDx speakers and executives around the world. She's known for bringing deep presence and truth into leadership. And these are two of our experts on SAM. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here today. Okay, so over the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to go through 4 steps that you all can learn and practice when times feel uncertain. And right now, we'll start off with Corrine, and she's going to guide us through our first step as an invitation to slow down and hear ourselves again. Corrine?
Thank you, Abby. Hello, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here with you today. And we really start with awareness because the truth is we can't move through anything if we're not honest about where we are. As Abby kind of mentioned, there's a lot going on right now. And there's a lot just on our plates in general as women moving about in this world and doing all of the things that we do. But sometimes the hardest truths to face aren't the ones that we're saying out loud or the ones that we might be talking to others about. They're the ones that we're whispering to ourselves or that we're avoiding altogether. And so taking a moment to become aware with where we really are in this present moment, because that's the only thing that we know for certain is happening right now. And really recognizing, like, what are we not saying? What needs do we have that we're not admitting to, even to ourselves, and especially to ourselves, right? I'm sure we all have those quiet moments where we push down some of the things that we're really feeling or some of our needs because we're always trying to make sure everyone else is okay and that we have everything else around us set up for everyone else's health, well-being, and success. But in those moments of uncertainty within our lives, and especially within our lives and when the world has such a high level of uncertainty, our nervous systems can really go into overdrive and we can kind of default into noise, into doing, into solving everyone else's problem. And then we struggle to find the clarity that we need to take the next step. But that clarity doesn't come from urgency. It comes from honesty and being honest with ourselves and having the awareness that there's things that we need right now that we need to learn how to be vocal about. And to really gain that awareness, we have to pause and be intentional about connecting with ourselves and really understanding where we really are, and then having the courage to voice it. See, this is where we find the space to move past all of the shoulds that tend to drive us, all of the things we should be doing right now, or the things that the shoulds that we've been doing for a long time and ignoring the voice inside of us that's telling us what we really need. And it's where we can tune out all of the external voices and really tune into our own. So, for this first step, I want to invite you to pause and to check in. And not with the outside world, not with what's going on in your household, not with your family, not with everyone immediately around you, but really check in with yourself. Like, you showed up on this call today and you carved out the space to make time for yourself. So I invite you to be fully present with yourself and partake in these practices that we have for you today so that you can leave having some renewed sense of what to do next. So first, if it's comfortable to you, I ask you to close your eyes or just take a light gaze and really tune in. As you listen to these things, what's the volume of your inner voice right now? Is it loud? Is it scattered? Is it going a million miles a minute, worrying about all the things? Is it quiet? Are you struggling to hear it? Or is it numb? Sometimes we numb ourselves and we numb our voice because it feels like there's too much going on. And now ask yourself, what is my body trying to say? Where am I feeling it in my body? And what words are coming up as I tune into these areas that are holding tension, or holding worry, or holding uncertainty? Take a moment, take a deep breath, and allow yourself to really listen to your voice in your body. And hold this space for yourself. And take a deep breath. Feel free to open your eyes. And I'd love for everyone to utilize the chat. Like, what's coming up? Is there anything that you want to share? Is there anything that you would like to ask for support on, or just voice out loud that came up for you in this moment? This is definitely an interactive space, so feel free to share or participate if you feel called to. Grief and fear, yeah, there's a lot of that. I'm sure many of us can relate, because sometimes we forget or we don't realize that with any change, even good change, there's grieving. There's a part of us that has to make peace with either an uncertain future or a new future that our old past self didn't plan for. Your body needs movement and challenge. Reagan, that's a good one. Separating the shoulds from the true needs. That's what I'm constantly in progress in, right? We sometimes don't realize how often in our lives we've been operating from those shoulds.
Thank you so much, Corrine, and thank you everyone for sharing in the chat. Let's move on to step 2. So Kara now will guide us through this next step. Centering stability is your superpower, and how to ground ourselves in the middle of uncertainty and begin to rebuild steadiness from the inside. Kara?
You are muted, Kara.
Oops, sorry about that. I was saying I feel so calm and grounded right now. So this is a great way to begin my presentation. There's a wonderful saying out there that you can't shoot a cannon from a canoe. And if you think about it,
Kara, we've lost your sound. I'm not sure what's happening.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
We
Let's
lost you after the canoe, though, but so that we were really we were waiting for this one because it sounded really good. So please.
Oh my goodness. I mean, this is life, right? Uncertain, unstable, spontaneous. We're constantly dancing on these grounds that we're not sure of. So, this saying, you can't shoot a cannon from a canoe, means that we can't do what we want to do in life if we're constantly trying to find balance. So, truly, stability is our superpower. And knowing how to come back to balance, to center over and over and over again is one of the most important things that we can do, especially now for ourselves and our own health, for our families, for our coworkers, for our communities, and just to be a stable presence in the world is so essential. And, in preparing for this, I was thinking about, you can see on the screen, the mini win practices. And these are things that we've heard over and over again. And what's unfortunate is that sometimes when we hear things so often, we gloss over them or we stop believing that they even work. Well, the practice that Corrine just did with us works, right? These are evidence-based ways that our bodies respond and find balance and find stability. So if we want to be a grounding force in this world, and I believe that we all do, then we want to become masterful at finding our center. We want to harness the superpower of being stable, calm, and clear, despite the chaos and the uncertainty. And that doesn't mean we're not going to get knocked off course. I mean, you open up your phone and you look at the news, and there's always like, I know I hold my breath, and I think that most of us probably do as well. It's just holding our breath over and over all day long. So, how do we find our center? How do we get stronger at returning so that we can launch our desires and launch our capacities and our voice into the world from a very stable and grounded place, even if you're at the grocery store? I mean, this is to the extent that we can help others. So, these mini win practices, I've been teaching them for decades to all sorts of people. And it really comes down to biology. Like Corrine was saying, it starts in the nervous system. So I'd like to do it. We're going to come back to some of these practices in a few steps from now. But for right now, let's come together to do a very simple practice. It's a practice that I started doing with college football players, and it ended up being able to use this in boardrooms and students and people all over. And it's simply called feet planted, eyes steady. So we're going to keep our eyes open for this, and it'll be a short practice. And you want to place both feet to the floor. So anytime we cross our limbs, either cross our legs or cross our arms, we're actually activating the sympathetic nervous system, that stress response. So we want to uncoil our limbs and plant our feet. And for a moment, Just plant your feet and wiggle your toes, right? We're finding our ground here. Press your toes down and then press into your heels as well. So you can kind of rock back and forth a few times. We're finding our body in space right now. We're knowing where we are in this spinning globe that we're sitting on somehow. So plant your feet. Just place your hands either on your desk or on your thighs. Plant your hands. And now set your gaze to something not moving. So in yoga, we call this the dristi. You may have heard that in yoga class. Because setting our eyes softly on a spot, again, it helps us to collect our energy so we're not flitting about, but we're pulling it all to center. So the simple instructions are feet planted, eyes steady. And we'll hold there for just a moment. You can notice your breath. You could simply be in space, knowing where you are here in the room you're in, where your feet are, with your eyes softly gazed upon one point. And what's wonderful about these instructions and this reminder is that you can come back to it during meetings. You can come back to it before you present. You can come back to it anywhere where you start to feel pulled out of center, off your game, off balance. Feet planted, eyes steady. And we'll come back to those other mini one practices in step 4.
Thank you so much, Kara. And I felt the immediate kind of unfurlowing at your direction. So now we'll turn it back to Corrine. This title says it all. Clarity begins in the body and flows through your voice. But let's hear it from the expert. Corrine, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Abby, and thanks, Kara, for that grounding practice. It's so helpful to come from a place where we can find our center. That's why we're doing these practices in this order, right? Because in these uncertain times, clarity is the one thing that we're seeking. So let's talk about clarity. And not just the kind that comes from making pros and cons lists, because those are important. And those are good tools. But we're talking about the kind of clarity that lives in your body, that starts in your body and comes out through your voice. So as we're in these states of uncertainty and as we're in these states of stress, we'll use these practices to get aware and get grounded so we can continue to tune out all of the external answers and all of the external advice on what to do next. Because the clarity comes when we reconnect with our own voice and our own needs. So let's remember that our voice is our anchor, right? Our voice is the expression of our body to the world. When we think about the fact that our voice is vibration and that it's healing, and there's so many different things that happen with our voice. And when you speak from a regulated state, as we've been getting into today, truth flows. Too many times when we are stressed out or feeling the weight of the world, we'll speak from a place of what we think other people want to hear. How to just move past this moment. How do we quickly get through it, right? Or from a place of performance of what we think we should do, going back to those shoulds. What we want to do is speak from a place of presence. So how many times have you ignored that feeling in your gut and that voice in your head telling you to say something different in that meeting or speak up for yourself? But you keep those words inside instead of saying them out loud. We are constantly filtering our words and our voice based on all of the different environments that we're in, when we really just want to get the real ones out. Like, what are the real words that our body wants us to say and express? We've all had those moments, those times where we look back wishing we would have said something different, wishing we would have just spoke up in that moment for ourselves or for others, wishing we would have spoken our truth instead of what we know they wanted to hear, right? So we're learning how to center in our bodies so that we feel safe enough to let that truth flow out. So let's take a deep breath, make sure we're still grounded. And let's use this simple voice prompt. And again, feel free to share. If you want to put this out into the world, I'm always going to encourage you to use your voice, whether it be in the chat or out loud in the room to the people that you might be with. But I'd love for you to think about if you could say anything without fear, anything at all, what would it be? What are those words that you haven't said out loud because you were afraid of judgment, of it being too different, of it being too big, of it being too bold, of not wanting to be the one asking for help, of not wanting to bother people? If you could say anything without fear, what would you say? Give you a moment to think about that. Yes, that word selfish. It gets such a bad rap, but we cannot pour from empty cups. We want to do all the things and be everything for everyone. But if we're all running around trying to pour from empty cups, we're not being much service to ourselves or anyone else. So selfish is actually a good thing.
I think that prompt is just so powerful, right? I mean, just even reminding ourselves of that prompt every day is perhaps a mechanism to move us forward in a different direction.
Yes, I agree. I deserve to feel free and safe. Yes. I would say that hearing you are so strong isn't that much of an accomplishment, and I would rather have support and help. That's why we exist here today, right, Abby?
That's right.
Thank you guys for sharing.
Well, these just keep getting better and better. I wish I could spend all day with you guys, but alas, the world awaits. We've got 2 more steps left. Potential, busy me or best me, you decide. Kara, you're back on.
Yes, yes. It's amazing, how these all flow together so beautifully. And, Kareen saying that our voice is a reflection of our body. It's a reflection of the state of our body. And very often we find ourselves in a very busy state. I think Abby was saying at the very beginning. We are flurrying about, we are speeding through life, our minds are full, and we find ourselves in a state that I like to call busy me. We all know busy me, and we're gonna parse it apart in a moment. And then there's best me, and we all know this state as well. The best me is when we do feel safe to say anything, is where we do feel grounded, where we feel stable enough to launch those desires, to launch those ideas out into the world. So busy me or best me, we get to decide moment to moment. And being empowered and being a coherent, courageous woman in this world is our ability to know where we are moment to moment. So busy me or best me. Let's pull it apart a little bit. This best me, I will say, just before we move screens here, is your optimal state. It's not only an optimal state, it's also our natural state. It's our birthright to feel strong, calm, and clear. And that optimal state of best me is awaiting us. It's waiting in every moment, just below those levels of noise speed, worry, scatteredness, distraction, overthinking, overdoing. So let's talk about this for a moment. I'd love your participation. Um, what does busy me feel like in your body? Can you share some adjectives of what busy me feels like, either in your body or in your breath or in your mind. And I'm going to give you some examples as you all decide what busy me feels like in you. Tense, exactly, Corinne. Tense, speedy. I often hear it. I use a lot of S words. Adrenaline, thrumming. Oh, I like that. Busy me feels mentally scattered, ungrounded. Yes, tiring, stressed, and overcaffeinated. These are great. Tense, angry, impatient, distracted. Yeah, we've got these right at our fingertips, right? Drained, shallow breathing. Good. Yes. What you would say to a perfectionist who is busy because there's always trying to be at their best, asking for a friend. That's a good one, Maura. Not thoughtful. So busy me has these feelings of speed, right? Of struggle, of being perhaps sloppy or shut down or separate from others. And we all know because we can feel it very easily. And then there's best me. Best me is that natural state. It's that optimal state of feeling strong, calm, and clear. But let's hear from you. How do you feel? What is the state or states of best me when you are in that optimal state? And I'll give you some of mine as well. So in my best me state, I use C words: clear, calm, confident, kind, Reagan, yes, courageous, composed, compassionate, connected, present, yes, creative, present, rested, rested, collaborative, consistent, congruent, yes, bold, rested, curious, yes, another good C word. So busy me or best me, they're really a distinction between our body states. And when we can learn to become aware, right, that was step one, and ask, where am I right now? We want to be aware of busy me because busy me is habitual. We all know that. We can slip into busy me mode at the snap of a finger. So we want to be aware of busy me. We also want to believe in best me. Believe that taking a few moments to shift, one of those mini win practices we're going to talk about, when we can believe that we are more compassionate, more creative, more courageous, more coherent when we're best me in that natural state, we will learn to trust those practices that help us shift back into that strong, calm, clear state. So the next step is action. Taking action to not allow ourselves to get knocked off by this uncertainty in this world, by the chaos in the world, by the constant change that we're all experiencing day to day. And so these mini win practices that were on the screen before, but I'll go through them again. Trust them, practice them, and remember that we can shift from busy me to best me in a matter of moments. So just quickly, some of the mini win practices, these state shifters, are breath, right? We did that in Corinne's practice. We did it with Maura's practice earlier on, coming back to breath, finding some stillness. Just being still for a few minutes in between meetings can change your state so that you show up with a whole different way of being, more stable, more grounded. So breath, stillness, silence, turning off the noisemakers for a few minutes, getting outside, right? We know this. We've heard it. We see it over and over, all over social media, but they work. And then the last one is rhythm. Finding some type of rhythm. You know, we rock our babies, right, when they're crying, walking, sweeping, listening to drums, chopping carrots, listening to music, something that has something in rhythmic finding our breath. All these things can help us to shift from busy me to best me. So I'm going to turn this back over to Corrine to close this out. But I just want to encourage you to be aware of busy me, believe in best me, and master those mini wins. And you'll be a grounding force all over the place in our community.
Thank you, Kara. I love those mini practices. The one thing I've learned is that we sometimes think things have to be so big. We have to take these big leaps or these big changes or these big actions to move forward. But these little micro practices can be so powerful. And here's what I've also learned. The action doesn't always look loud. It doesn't always sound loud. And it doesn't need to. Like there's so much power that lives in the quiet moments, in that deep breath that you take before you ask for what you need, in that sentence that you speak out loud because you've been holding it in, even if you speak it quietly. Because voice is more than just speaking or volume. It's asking, it's declaring, it's advocating. It's our tool to advocate for ourselves and for others. And all of these actions, they don't have to be big to be brave. We just have to have the courage to take one little tiny step. So as we close out, I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, what conversation, what request, what declaration, what words do you need to speak for yourself this week? What space do you need to hold for yourself this week? What is the tiny action you can do to move yourself forward from this place of uncertainty? Feel free to share. Sometimes it's good to say it out loud and have all of us be each other's accountability partners, because sometimes we just need to know that we've said it to someone else to make it real to ourselves.
It doesn't have to be big to be brave. That's a good one. That's a very good one. With just a few minutes left. Oh, we've got sorry, someone in chat. Go ahead.
Oh, I love that weekly coffee shop hour where you sit in silence and read. That sounds divine. Like we just need to take these little moments for ourselves, right? We so often think we need to take a whole day. You can take a lunch break and just tune everything else out and tune into what you need. So I love that. Thank you for sharing.
So we've moved through a lot together over the last few minutes. Awareness, grounding voice, choice, and action. We'd love to hear from you. What's coming up? What really resonated? What's sitting with you? Drop your questions in the chat or say it out loud to someone in the room. There's no pressure to be polished here. It's just a space for honest reflection.
Yeah, Kara, maybe you want to start us off with, there were a couple questions about kind of integrating the busy me and best me. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
your thoughts on that.
Yes, I love this question because we're so happy when we're busy sometimes. So being busy and productive and creative and courageous, I mean, that's all wonderful. It's when the busyness, the speediness, the distraction takes us off center so that we are saying things we don't mean, we're holding back our voice, we are either playing small or overthinking and overdoing. Those are the busy me things that we that aren't optimal in our lives if we lean on that too much. So best me certainly is productive in flow, courageous, speaking, bold, all of that, but yet remaining grounded. So that optimal state or natural state, think about it as strong, calm, and clear, right? As opposed to being off-centered, scattered, uncertain, stressed. So that may help you to tease it out a little bit.
We have a few notes in the chat. That was intense. I'm amazed how much this brought up for me. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being here. I love the concept of busy me and best me. Where was that 40 years ago? We've got a question from Christine. I'm curious about the body cues that others present when you are busy me or best me.
That's a really great question. I'm going to give you a visual. So I presented this to a group of women leaders, and I had them walk around the room for 2 or 3 minutes as busy me, and then share. And what we all felt, these women expressed, was feeling very disconnected from the other person. If we just feel disconnected. We're so consumed in our own body state of stress that we don't feel either receptive to what somebody else has to offer or courageous and connected enough in ourselves to share. So that busy me, when we do scurry around life, start to notice in stores, in conversations where someone's out, of course, without judgment, with tons of compassion, but you'll start to learn a lot about your own state and how you show up as well.
Thanks, Kara. We have a question for Corinne here. What daily practices can we do to strengthen our inner voice? What's your recommendation?
Yeah, so one of the first things I like to share, especially when I'm working with women, especially when it comes to practicing getting that inner voice out loud, right? There's many of these practices we've done today to listen to it and hear it when it comes to grounding and silence and reconnecting with ourselves. But it's a whole nother thing to start to actually voice it, right? Once we're aware of it. And sometimes the place we voice it the least is inside our own homes. How many times are we doing so much for everyone else, or we've had a long day and someone asks us for something and we just do it instead of voicing our needs to the people that are closest to us? And so just being honest with how you feel and that you don't want to do that right now, right? Or that you need some rest, or you need a timeout, or you don't want to talk, or whatever it may be. How do we practice with those closest to us? Practice saying it out loud to the people we love the most, the people that we're doing all of these things for. And then I think another tool that many of us use in different ways, but I think is really, really great for us to learn to recognize our own voice, is writing. And practicing just free writing and just writing our thoughts out. And I highly recommend doing this with an actual pen and paper versus typing, because there's something special that happens with our brain when we're using our own handwriting. But writing out our thoughts so we can see them and have them reflected back to us and start to understand, what do we truly want to say? Because sometimes saying it to the paper first is the first way we can get it out and be brave. And so once we can get clear with ourselves on the paper, we can start getting clear with others in our lives.
Thanks so much, Corinne. And last question before we end for the day from Reagan. Would love thoughts on staying present when our environment, coworkers expect busy me all of the time.
That's another great question. Think about that statement. You can't shoot a cannon from a canoe. When you show up grounded, clear, speaking slowly, deliberately, your presence calms everybody else around you. And everybody flourishes. We all thrive from that. So there's a reteaching going on. And of course, we have to really find it in ourselves first, feet planted, eyes steady, breath steady, really working these practices, building these muscles. And then when you show up, you're going to be so much more highly productive. We are 5 times more productive in flow than when we're not in flow. So it's a retraining And it may make other people a little uncomfortable when you're showing up grounded, but in the end of the day, it's going to just lift the whole boat.
Thank you so much. And that is our time for today. Thank you to Kara and Corrine for your wisdom, your thoughtfulness, and your brilliance as we try to navigate these very difficult times personally and just outside in the world. And thank you all for being here today and for taking time for yourselves. It's really important. Please join us for the next one. You can find Corrine and Kara and me and Maura and all of us on SAM. And before you'd go, we'd really appreciate it if you'd do a quick survey for us. We're always trying to make things better for SAM, so we'd appreciate it. And see you at the next one. Thank you.